What if I told you your scissors might be the most important tool in your studio and also the most misunderstood? Today's episode is a deep dive into something every quilter uses, but almost nobody talks about unless you can't find them or they're not cutting well. Scissors. Today, I'll have a chat with the fine folks from LDH Scissors. Hello and welcome to the Quilter on Fire podcast. I'm Brandy Maslowski, a former firefighter turned quilt professional. As a quilt teacher, speaker, and judge, I travel the globe to bring quilters more joy and less overwhelm. Not too long ago, the quilty life I now lead was just a dream. After many lessons and a lot of hard work, I've transitioned from juggling a day job and a quilting business on the side to becoming a full-time quiltpreneur. I started the Quilter on Fire podcast to create a vibrant community of quilters, artists, and makers. Each episode brings you inspiring stories, insights, and the pure joy of guests from all over the world. If their stories uplift you and spark joy, you're in the right place. Let's dive in and ignite that creative fire within you. My guest today is Ursula McClintock. She is half of the team, also comprised of Roy Zhao, the owners of LDH Scissors in Toronto, Canada. Their scissors are designed for makers, quilters, sewists, textile artists, anyone really who appreciates a tool that works beautifully and feels good in your hands. From traditional fabric shears made with industrial-grade carbon steel to specialty snips and pinking shears, their tools are built to cut through layers of fabric with precision and comfort. Today, we'll talk about how scissors are made, why some cut like butter and others fight you every inch of the way, and the surprisingly simple ways to care for your scissors and keep them sharp for years. If you love tools, craftsmanship, and the little things that make quilting easier and more joyful, this episode is for you. So let's explore the story of LDH Scissors with Ursula McClintock. Ursula, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you, Brandy.
Well, this is going to be a fun topic. I mean, quilters love their tools, and scissors is such an important thing to care for, right? So I want to start at the beginning. So let's take a look back at where you got started. What's the founding story of LDH Scissors?
So we got to go way back because it doesn't actually start with me and Roy. It starts with Roy's parents. So Roy's parents started and founded LDH 36 years ago in China, which is where Roy was born. Yeah. And it's where his family still lives and where all of our products are still handcrafted. So you can kind of picture this. They had a motorcycle, they drove around together, and what they were doing before they started their own factory was they were just selling thread snips. Oh. It started from something that small, and eventually they were able to grow it and open their own factory. And in fact, the first product that they were making were those thread snips, but better.
Wow.
And so you fast forward, a handful of years or so, and then Roy and I met in university and we were doing completely different degrees. And after we graduated, we eventually became a little unsatisfied with our jobs that we were working and decided to give his business a try here in Canada. And this is our 8th year. This is our 8th year doing this together.
8-year anniversary. That's a huge milestone.
Yeah, it's been a ride. And this is basically all I know now. I don't know anything about my degree anymore. I only know scissors.
So in 1990, Roy's parents founded the business. His mom still runs the business in China, right? And so it's so exciting that you guys met in university and married in, bringing in sort of the crafting and sewing and melding kind of two different backgrounds, Canadian and Chinese together. So how old was Roy when he came to Canada?
Roy was 15 when he came to Canada.
Was he with family when he came to Canada, or did he come for school?
So he came for school, and he wasn't with his family. He was with a homestay family. Yeah. So he came, he finished high school, and this was in Vancouver. And I grew up in Toronto, so we're at different coasts here at this point. Yeah. And he was trying to decide between actually UBC, the University of Toronto, and then a school in Halifax, actually.
Yeah.
So, I mean, kind of even thinking about that, I knew I always wanted to go to U of T. I grew up in the city. I used to walk by the university every day to get to high school. But I guess imagine if he had gone to the East Coast, if he had stayed on the West Coast, we wouldn't be talking scissors here.
Yeah,
It'd be
that's
tragic.
yeah, so true. Okay, so how do you think Roy's family business had a creative impact on him to change his career?
Well, for Roy, his family's always been incredibly supportive of what he's wanted to do. And I think it was a huge sacrifice for everyone for him to come to Canada and do his education here. When he was 7 years old, his father passed away. So it's really been him and his mom this entire time. And I think beyond wanting to carry on the legacy of both of his parents, he sees it as a way to give back as well for all of their support in the past and in the future going forward too.
Yeah, and it's such a beautiful founding story of his mom and dad on the back of a motorcycle selling this product and then refining the product and selling an even better product in factories on their own. I mean, it's just such an easy thing to get drawn into, especially if it's your family, right? Okay, so you both were taking different degrees. So what were your degrees in? Like, what was your school path? And do those actually relate to business, or did you completely just cold turkey, let's just dive in?
So, like I said, we were both at the University of Toronto, completely unrelated to business. I had a much more, I'm going to say maybe more linear path with my degree than Roy did. I studied English and a whole big various types of history. And then after I graduated, I went on to do a postgraduate certificate in visual communications. And for Roy, he started originally doing, I believe, economics. Didn't like it. Took a year off, went woofing across Canada, which is farming at organic farms. Came back, and that was the summer that we met. And he went on to finish a degree in environmental sciences and Buddhist psychology. So very, very unrelated to business, which I think for us, we feel like is both, there's some positives there and maybe some negatives because, I mean, starting from scratch with no ideas about what a business should look like or what are the things that you quote unquote have to be doing allows you to have a lot more freedom in how you approach something. But it also means that there is quite a lot that you have to learn completely from scratch. So there's always, some bumps along the way. And, I'm grateful for what I studied, especially after university, because it gave me some tools to help the business from the beginning. And I always say that with us, it's like we're kind of two halves of the whole when we come together because we have different parts of the business that we like to work on and different ideas. And when they come together, it works, fortunately.
Well, I could see how visual communications could come into play because your product is ridiculously beautiful and your visuals are amazing. Your booth is always incredible. And I bet you, even though Roy wasn't too fond of economics, that's probably helpful at this stage of the game when it comes to business, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a moment out of the story and talk about where are you living now and who are your loved ones you share your world with every day?
So Roy and I are in Toronto, and it is he and I and our little toddler, our little boy who I gave birth to in 2024, and our two cats as well. Those my first fur babies. Yeah, Roger and Willow. Yeah.
Oh, how sweet. Okay. So back to the story. Let's go back to the moment. So you met in your 20s, you married, you had a little one, but even before you had a little one, he decided 8 years ago to take on the challenge of a family business with you. So it had to be a joint decision, obviously, but when did he decide to just drop everything? What was kind of the turning point?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's funny because Roy is the most determined person I've ever met. If he thinks and wants to do something, he's just going to do it. So I don't know the exact moment, but basically when he came to me with the idea, this was already years after he had told me what his family did as a business, which, as an aside, he had actually sat me down. He had looked me in the eye, and I thought something serious is going on here.
Uh-oh.
He's like, I'm going to tell you what my family does. I'm like, oh, okay. Okay, what is it? And he said, we make scissors. And someone tells you, I think, what do you mean?
Yeah.
What does that mean? What kind of scissors? And it actually, from that point, it hadn't come up again for a really long time until he said, why don't we give this a try? And we might as well see where it goes. And so he started full-time working on it in November of 2018. And then I quit my job March of 2019 to join him full-time. So it was pretty like boom, boom, boom. This is happening. Maybe he's been thinking about it, or maybe he woke up one day and thought, yeah, okay, why not?
Wow.
So it was really quick, and he was very serious from the beginning. And of course, that's contagious. So I wanted to work on this with him.
Yeah, well, there's that family heritage. It's almost like a big chunk of honor that's involved there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So did you start with one product and grow from there? Like, what were some of the early things that you brought to the public?
So what Roy's family mostly focuses on is garment scissors and snips. So think about, factories that need sewing tools specifically for garment sewing. So that's mostly what they had been making for a really long time. So that's what we focused on first. So the original product lines were split into two. We had our carbon steel line, which includes things like the Midnight Edition fabric shears and the traditional fabric shears. And then we had our stainless steel line, which includes things like the prism fabric shears and the matte black prism shears. We also used to carry like just a pure silver one with no colors or anything like that. But now we focus and try to diversify the kind of crafts that we want to attract. So that includes things like smaller scissors, different crafting scissors. So with us, and when we're talking to his mom, because it's a different market and because we're going to different shows than she's going to, we have a different perspective about, well, this scissor should be this way. Maybe we can make it a little bit smaller. This is what people are looking for. So it's kind of just blossomed out of all of the shows that we've done and all of the people that we've talked to. So that's been actually the most important thing, is being able to be in the community. That's really shaped how our products have been presented.
And we love seeing you at the shows. Of course, it's mostly Roy who's at the shows, right? You had a baby in the last couple of years. So have you been going to the shows with him before that? And then, are you going to be easing back into it once the little guy is bigger?
Yeah. So our first show, I'm going to go way back. So our first show was in Toronto at the Mars building. Shout out to anyone in Toronto who knows where that is. And it was just like a general craft show. So aside from us, think about ceramics tables, art prints, things like that. And that was in 2018. And then after I quit in 2019, we launched straight into doing as many shows as we could. So I remember from that point on, it was basically looking like I was doing at least one show a week, every single week for the rest of the year. So we were traveling nonstop. We didn't have cats at that point. It was just he and I. So we had the freedom to do that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we had all of these plans for 2020 and then COVID.
Yeah.
And so after COVID kind of eased up, our first show back was, I'm going to say October 2023. And that was in Houston for Quilt Festival. And I was already pregnant at that time. That was actually the last show that I did. And we ramped up in 2024 to do more shows, the second half of 2024. And then 2025, we were back in earnest. So Roy has been doing a ton of those shows. We have all of our plans for this year, for next year as well. And yeah, our little guy is not old enough yet, but it will be really interesting, when we can bring him eventually in a couple of years. He's #1 scissor expert,
Yeah.
the little guy. He won't run with scissors though. That's the #1 lesson he's going to get from now on.
There's actually a really popular quilting blog out there called Runs with Scissors. It's quite hilarious. But okay, so let's just not glaze over something really important that happened for your business, because you mentioned it to me earlier. So when COVID hit, it was only a year after you'd come into the business. You guys had really started in earnest. You've been doing all those shows. How did things change for LDH Scissors during that time in lockdown?
So COVID was a really interesting time because we had been doing all those shows in 2019, and it gave us a really good perspective on what does this community look like? I think a lot of people noticed that there was a really wonderful resurgence of craft and people interested in making. And people had started having time to try new things. And there was really a very steady increase in people embracing the handmade. And it allowed a lot of small businesses to open and thrive, including ours. So what we did in the very early days of COVID was, I remember doing virtual make and takes.
Oh.
So if you've ever been to like a quilt show, I think in particular, we see this a lot. You get to go to a booth and there's a little project that you can make and take with you, or you can do this in classes as well. So we reached out to and worked with a bunch of different artists and makers, and we had them do live streams on our Instagram of a project. So something like a hanging macrame flower pot or a quilted pincushion that people could prepare for in advance if they wanted to join. And they can watch and they can make at the same time. So it was a really, really fun way. And it really showed us how special this community was, because people just wanted connection during those times. And so it was really wonderful, actually. And I would say that was one of the times that we really, really started to solidify that what we were doing as a business was sustainable for us.
Yeah. Well, and I really love that you're taking a close look at your community and you're trying all the shows like sewing, quilting, crafting, even cosplay. Like, I love all that you're getting out there and finding out what the needs are for your product. So how has your product changed, the line of products changed from the start to where you are now 8 years later? Have you added way more? Have you refined and you do less?
So as I mentioned, our products from Roy's family, they mostly focus on sewing garments. So those were the types of products that we mostly had at the beginning. What's interesting is actually there's a huge number of quilting shows. It's more than any other type of show, actually. And so we quickly looked into the quilting community. We were at these shows already. We were talking to as many people as we could, like, listen, like, what are you looking for? Like, what products do you like? How can we improve them? So we started with bringing out a rotary cutter, our rotary blades. And actually what we're focusing on this year in particular is smaller scissors, because we've always had, the large fabric shears. Even rotary cutters are a large tool. So we have our thread snips, but what about for, like, what's good for yarn? What's good for even small scale or small size macrame? So just a little sneak peek, we have a bunch of smaller tools coming out later in the year that we're really, really excited about. That'll be great for really a whole wide breadth of crafts. Yeah. So keep an eye out for that, because we're very, very excited. So we've definitely tried to be more inclusive of other crafts. That's where it's taken us.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And you do shows like H&H Americas and things like that. So that'll be exciting to see those products coming soon later in the year. Okay, so let's get a little more personal for a moment. Are you both crafters yourselves, or are scissors your craft?
So I'd say for Roy, scissors are his craft, but for me, I am a maker. So I grew up with my mom, my sister, we were always crafting. And my mom is a big knitter. So that is probably my number one go-to. Of course, starting this business and seeing all of the creativity online, it's hard to not get sucked into, oh, well, I want to make that. I want to try that. So before having my son, there was obviously a lot more time. So I would say I'm still a beginner. I'm not, that advanced, but I love garment sewing. I would really love to make a bag because I love bags. And my long-term plan is for my very first quilt, I want to take all of my son's like baby clothes, toddler clothes, cut them up and make one gigantic quilt so I can just wrap that up all over me for the rest of my life. And that'll be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a really nice memory quilt of all his little clothes. I love that. Okay, so you're dreaming of making your first memory quilt with his clothes. Let's get into the conversation about design. So, I mean, when I talk to quilters on the show or guests on the show, usually we're talking about fabric design or pattern design, but let's talk about scissor design because these scissors are gorgeous. I mean, thank you so much to Roy, who sent me these, both of you, who sent me these scissors. When they arrived, I did a little unboxing, and that's going to be up on my YouTube channel. But when I opened them up, I was like, should I touch these? These are so gorgeous. They're beautiful and sleek and heavy, and they just feel like really good quality. And when I had some fun making some videos with them, I was like, this is an ASMR dream come true. It's like, like these, when I use the pinking shears, I'm telling you, honestly, I have never had pinking shears in my toolbox because I used to buy all those craft scissors and they had all different kinds of blades on them for paper, right? And I would always try and dream of using them on fabric, but it was just garbage. I couldn't cut fabric with these crafty scissors. And every pair of pinking shears I've ever had has just not been sharp or not been good quality or anything. So I've literally thrown them all away and I've just not had pinking shears. Just trying these for the first time, I'm already imagining what kind of things can I make with these because I don't sew very many garments, but I do love the edge and the finish and how they cut. So anyway, back to the story. I mean, I could go off on a tangent because it's such a lovely product. Let's talk about design. So how do you guys decide on the design and the color and the packaging of your scissors?
So there are a number of things that we look at. So let me break it down. So for scissors, there are a couple things that you can be taking a closer look at. So it would be things like the material that they're made out of. Is it stainless steel? Is it carbon steel? Is it high carbon steel? Some other manufacturers use titanium. So there's a whole bunch of different options. What does the handle look like? How does it feel in the hand? Now, the handle will also, depending on how it feels, what it looks like, is going to affect the balance of the overall scissor as well, which also makes you have to think about, well, how long is the blade? Yeah. How thick is the blade? When you get even closer looking at the blade, you have to determine what is the angle of the cutting edge, because that really determines what can it cut. Now, you can also think about how these are basically like two knives that you have to stick together. So another aspect is what kind of bolt, or we call it a button. You can call it a pivot as well. Mm-hmm. What does that material have to be? What is the weight? Because that is going to affect the balance as well. So there's really a whole bunch of things that you have to take into account when you're designing a scissor. In terms of colors, it can be, well, what fits our brand? What is popular? We're really well known for our black scissors, our midnight edition. So that's what we lean into. Though, again, another sneak peek, we have a new line of scissors that are coming very, very soon for the spring. So take a look out for those. A whole bunch of new colors for the handles. We're so excited. And then the packaging is a whole other thing. So I say that we're in our second generation of packaging. So I design all of our packaging, all of our cards, everything like that. Our first generation of packaging, when we were first starting and didn't quite know what we were doing, we really leaned into, I want to call it like a retro design. So it might be hard to find examples of that now. But from there, our second generation was really focused on making affirmations. It was focused on more minimalistic design, more literal design, because we have always really leaned into naming our tools literally.
Mm-hmm.
So you have ergonomic scissors because they're ergonomic. We have our thread snips because they are thread snips. Our one-piece thread snips because they're one piece of metal. So things like that.
Yeah.
That's sort of what we've always leaned into, is a very transparent, very clear messaging about what these tools are. Because that's what we've always prided ourselves on, is being transparent and being clear about who we are. And we hope that that's translated well into our packaging.
Yeah. I want to tell you the thing that I love the most about your packaging is the insert, or I guess you would call it foam of some kind. Like when I opened this package and I had to, tug it out of the safe foam that it was in, I was like, I'm storing them this way forever. I'm not going to shove them in my metal bin like they're all my other scissors. I remember telling you that earlier and you kind of cringed, like, oh my gosh, she throws all her scissors in a metal bucket. But I do have a soft piece of fabric at the bottom, but I can understand why that could be a problem. But we're going to talk a little bit more about storage and care and all that kind of stuff after the break. But I just have to say one more thing about your packaging and the design and everything. Who does your photography? Because it's beautiful.
That would be me.
That would be
yes.
You do such a great job. And it really is.
Thank you.
It's a test. Like if you go to the Instagram page or the website, you will see there's some really cool photography. It's not just beautiful pictures of the product. It's kind of stylized. And it even if you just look at the very front of the website, it's like a snapshot of the family heritage. It just really works well. So well done on the photography. Okay, so let's touch for a moment on how our scissors even made. Like, are they melted down and poured and forged or something? Like, I can't even imagine how you make a pair of scissors.
Well, so there are multiple ways to make a pair of scissors. So we can categorize it into two different major groups. So you have handcrafted scissors, which would be ours. And then you have mostly machine-made scissors. So, I mean, if you go to a dollar store, for example, the scissors there are mainly machine-made. When you are talking about a handcrafted scissor and what that manufacturing process looks like, it's basically the same for anywhere in the world. So anyone that is saying that their scissors are handcrafted, it's essentially this process. Unless they have a blacksmith doing it, which, wow, that would be amazing.
One pair at a time, which takes a month to make or something.
Yes, exactly. They're made to order.
Yeah.
So I will give you guys a little rundown, but we actually have the entire process detailed on our blog, on our website, which is ldhscissors.com. So it essentially starts with a chunk of metal that gets put into a die. So there's a die on the top, a die on the bottom, and it is heated and placed and pressed together, and it molds the steel to the shape of the die. So once the steel is cooled, it can be removed, and then it's prepared for a whole bunch of different steps that eventually lead to the point where you have to put those pieces together to make the scissors. Mm-hmm. When you're putting them together, that's really the most interesting part, in my opinion. And that is because of who is putting them together. Now, we have had artisans working with us for over 30 years, because this is a very, very specific, highly detailed craft. Like, once you know scissors, like I said, is kind of all you know. You're sucked into this world of handcrafting beautiful tools. So I remember the first time going to the factory and being able to watch mostly women actually putting these scissors together, how fast and how accurate they are. Wow. And the end result is just a beautiful handcrafted tool. And we also have videos of this on our Instagram that I have taken, and you can take a look. And it's a fascinating process from having to weld the pieces together, having to have them sharpened, polishing, removing the burrs. And throughout all of these processes, there are multiple pairs of hands that are inspecting, that are removing things. And there are a couple of steps that are done by machine just for safety, such as heat treatment.
Mm-hmm.
But largely everything else, there are pairs of hands taking a look at these scissors at every single process. And it's a really, really fascinating thing.
Yeah. So if people are interested in checking out how scissors are made, they can go to ldh.com, ldhscissors.com.
That's right.
Okay. And then they can check out the blog series, and then they can also find you on Instagram. So what's your Instagram handle?
So our Instagram handle is at LDH_scissors.
Okay. So that's easy to find. So let's talk a little bit about the business. Why the business name LDH Scissors?
So LDH is a short form for the original business name, which is Lida Hung. And for us, when we were starting, of course, we didn't want to change what it was. And what's funny is we've actually had a handful of people either message us or come to us at trade shows and say, you should think about changing the name because it just doesn't stand out. It doesn't make any sense. And then we say, well, you know what? Actually, for us, it stands for love, dedication, and happiness.
Aww.
And this is something that Roy came up with, and he told me. And I mean, it's so lovely. And specifically what it means for us is, we love what we do and we love our family. We're dedicated to making the best products possible. And this brings us a lot of happiness. And we hope that our tools can bring a lot of happiness to people in their crafting as well.
Yeah, and it's such a great way to come up with a solution to keep the family name, right? Because it means so much. I love that. Okay, so let's just take a moment to talk about what do you bring to the world with your business in a nutshell?
So we bring a lot of technical knowledge about scissors to the world, and we pride ourselves on that because we just want to share. Whatever we know, we want to share with our community, whether that's how do you oil your scissors? Why do you have to do that? What should you look for in a pair of scissors? These are things that when we started, we saw that there was a really big gap in knowledge when it came to anything about scissors versus things that you might know about a kitchen knife, for example. What we also prioritize is affordability and making the highest quality handcrafted tools possible. We want to present the best product possible, and we stand behind our product. If you ever have any questions, you can reach out to us in our DMs, on our website, or directly an email to info@ldhscissors.com. And more likely than not, it's actually me who's going to be emailing you back. So we just want to be out there. We want everyone to know everything about scissors.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of you emailing, I'm seeing Roy at the shows. What are the roles that each of you play? And is there rivalry, or is there just clear, like, I do this better, you do this better, let's keep it that way?
I would say that's funny, actually. I would say, it's been pretty clear from the beginning what each of us is better at. And so, as I mentioned, I did the postgraduate certificate in visual communications. So that did give me a bit of a leg up on the marketing side of things. So front end marketing, packaging, photography, videography, things like that. So to this day, that's mostly what I'm working on. And then what Roy works on is back end things. So, inventory, the website maintenance, wholesale, things like that. But I think where we thrive together is everything that we're doing, we do it together. So if something comes up, it's always a conversation between the two of us of, well, what should we do? What's our next direction? And, thankfully and gratefully, now we have a couple of employees that we can also bring into those conversations. So someone who helps us with marketing, someone who helps us with packing, things like that. So it's quite a clear divide. But over the years, we've both learned, what works for each other's roles.
Yeah, sounds like you're a match made in heaven, right?
No.
Okay, well, you both love these words, especially Roy. He's been known to say this out loud, live in the dream. So what does that mean to you both?
So a little context out there. So if you ever catch Roy at a show or just in the wild. He, for as long as I've known him, if you go up to him saying, how's it going? How's life? More often than not, he's going to say, living the dream. And, he means it. He absolutely means it. He's the most, like I said, he's the most determined person. He's doing something that he loves, and he's extremely positive as well. And it's hard to not be influenced by that. So it's made me more positive as a person too. It's made me think, you know what? Yeah, we are living the dream and we get to do it together. So it's fantastic. I love that quote. It's pure Roy and it's great. It makes me laugh.
Instead of a ray of sunshine, he's a Roy of sunshine.
Oh, Roy of sunshine. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. So let's take a look over at the website, ldhscissors.com. So what kind of things will we find there if we take a visit to your website?
So the first thing you're going to see is a big collage of some family photos of us. We were celebrating our 35 years last year. So we have a big picture of little baby Roy and his parents, and then he and I as well. And throughout the website, we also have videos of us that kind of take you through each of the products, each page on the website as well. You can always click on that and send us messages through that as well if you have any questions. We have a couple of tabs at the top as well. You have all of our tools listed under tools in different categories. Under Learn, you're going to find a tab where you can learn more about us under Our Story. Our stockists, you can always check if there is a store near you that carries our products. Our blog, as well as Giving Back, which outlines a yearly donation that we make to Women's Shelters Canada. You have FAQs, so our frequently asked questions, information about our lifetime warranty, as well as information about our free sharpening service. And then we have our contact tab, which has support, so you can also message us there. And if anyone is looking for wholesale, you can contact us at the wholesale tab too. And then if you scroll down, you can see some reviews, where we've been featured, and our mailing list at the bottom that you can sign up for.
Yeah, so you can sign up for the newsletter if you want to hear more about LDH Scissors, like what's new, what's coming soon. We already mentioned a little sneak peek about a few things that are coming soon. So that's probably where you'll hear about everything in that newsletter, right?
Yeah, that's right. If you want to know where we're going for trade shows, what products are back in stock, what's coming up, you want to be with the newsletter. Yeah.
And I really want to highlight something. I want to pull a little nugget out of what you just said there, because community is something that both of you really care about. So you do an annual donation to the women's shelters in Canada at the end of each year. So how did you decide, that you were going to have this part of your business that gave back to the community?
So we started doing this donation in 2021, and this was at the height of COVID. And, I was raised by a single mom. Roy, his father passed away, so he was really raised by his mom. And it was really important to us, especially during COVID, to make sure that women and their children, anyone that identifies as a woman, as they are a very inclusive organization, is able to find safety from violence and abuse. So Women's Shelters Canada is a network of 14 provincial and territorial shelter networks, which represent over 400 shelters across Canada. And their initiative, which is sheltersafe.ca, is an online resource that anyone can look up and find where their closest shelter is. So it allows them to quickly identify where they can go, along with a 24-hour emergency phone number. Beyond that, they have a wide range of resources and do a lot of really excellent research and make policy reports with a focus on ending gender-based violence. Like I said, they're very inclusive, which is very important to us as well. So we're really happy to have found them, and we make that annual donation at the end of the year, and they do excellent work. Do check them out.
Yeah, I just really love the part of your story where you, a young couple just starting a family with this business, just a few years in, you're already thinking about philanthropy and doing something wonderful to give back. So that's an amazing part of what you do, and I really admire that. Okay, so now I want to talk about something fun that you've been doing lately with Cornelius Quiring. So he is going to be a guest on my podcast coming soon. And if you're listening right now and you've never heard the name Cornelius Quiring, If you're thinking of making garments for the first time, you need to look him up on YouTube. He is ridiculously effective at getting information out to the world in such a clean way. I'm telling you. And so he has done something fun with you. So tell me about that story.
Yeah. So we originally reached out to Cornelius actually a couple years ago, and we reconnected over, I would say, 2024, 2025. And, we want to stay connected with Canadians and what's going on in the community. And it was a perfect match because he has all of his garment courses and we have the tools. So our collaboration with him is a limited edition gift set where you get all of his favorite tools, including if you are left-handed, you can choose the left-handed option as well, because he is left-handed actually. And you also get access to one of his courses on his website. So if you are interested in pattern drafting, he has really great courses on if you want to do a shirt, if you want to do pants. I think he just came out with a new one for dresses as well. His work is just excellent. He is such a nice guy, very down to earth. And we're always so happy to be working with him. He will be with us at H&H as well.
I'm really excited. I can't wait to meet him in person. I was introduced to him by Michelle at Oliso Irons, and we had a conversation online. And it is so easy to just start binging his content on Instagram and YouTube because it's so like, I want to make myself a pair of pants. And I've never even considered that before. You know what I mean? I have made a couple of garments, both dresses, both very easy projects made from dresses that already fit me. But he's inspiring me to take it one step further and do something a little more. And especially now that I have these beautiful scissors, Okay. So I'm really looking forward to having him on the podcast. And I'm so excited that you'll be featuring him at H&H as well. So we'll see you there in May. Will you both be at H&H?
No, that'll just be Roy.
It'll just be Roy. Roy and Cornelius will be quite a pair. I can't wait.
Yeah. Yeah. They're
That'll
fun.
Be so fun. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk while we're on the topic of travel and shows and everything. You hinted to me something earlier about a travel highlight. Or anyway, it was a story about cows. So what's the story?
Oh, the cows.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So 2019, right. We are, man, when you're in your early 20s, you're trying to save as much money as possible. So we are driving to these shows around Canada and in the United States. One thing that we used to do when we were camping that we thought we would try for one night to see how it was going was looking up where we could camp on Crown land in Canada. Okay. So those are places where you can camp for free. And so we were driving, we found the spot and we're like, okay, we'll just, we'll cozy up for the night. It's fine. And in the morning, we woke up absolutely surrounded by cows, just surrounded by cows. It was very shocking. Not aggressive. They were just like, well, what are you doing here? And we're like, well, what are you doing here? It was the last time we did that, actually.
That's hilarious. Instead of being woken up by a rooster, you're woken up by cows mooing, and were they like leaning on the camper? It's funny.
They were a respectful distance away from the car.
Yeah.
But we're just like, hello? I think this is our field.
Oh, that is so funny. Okay, so that's pretty fun. So let's talk about a couple of the places that the product, your brand, has been featured. So you mentioned an editorial with a magazine. So tell me about that.
Yes. So we were recently in Tauco, which is a garment-focused indie magazine. And we were able to talk to them about all good things scissors and what to look for in a pair of scissors, how to take care of your scissors. And we're also really grateful to be featured in one of the editions of Uppercase Magazine's Encyclopedia of Inspiration. Oh. And it was in their Notions book. And this is an ongoing series for them. They have one focused on quilting, one focused on fabrics, feed sacks, rag and pulp, which features paper. glue, everything like that. So we were very, very grateful for that. And these are really fascinating books. I would encourage anyone who is interested in any craft to look them up. That's Uppercase Magazine.
The other thing where you feature your product really well, and it's a lot of fun, is your YouTube channel. So tell me about some of the reels or shorts actually, that you put out there.
So with our shorts, they're similar to what we put on Instagram. So these are just the highlights of everything that we want to share with people. We're going to be focusing more on educational shorts and educational reels in the future. But what we love to put out is, some really smooth ASMR shots about how to oil your scissors. We also like to do community highlights as well. Mm-hmm. So take a look. Our YouTube is LDH Scissors. Our Instagram, again, LDH_scissors. For any project inspiration and information about how to take care of your tools as well.
Yeah. Another fun thing that you've been doing for your local community is pop-ups at local quilting guilds in Ontario. So if you're listening right now and you are the program coordinator or someone in charge of that kind of thing at your local show, reach out, right, Ursula?
Oh, yeah, reach out. You can directly contact me, Ursula at ldhscissors.com. We would be really happy to do any pop-ups, guild meetings. We love being in the community. And if we're local, we want to be there.
Okay, so I'm moving into the joy question. This is a joy question I ask in every podcast, but for you, there's going to be two parts of it. So in your creative practice, what brings you joy?
What brings me the most joy is just slowing down. So I have always loved working with my hands. And I think that's why, when my mom taught me knitting, it's always been appealing because there's so much that goes through your head every single day as someone who's working, as someone who's parenting, just life, someone who is living, we all know. Yeah. Having a project in your hands, regardless of what it is, just the joy is just being able to focus and just not think about anything else and just slow down one stitch at a time. So relaxing.
Okay, so second part of that question, in the business, what brings you both joy?
So I think Roy and I would have the same answer. And what's brought us the most joy, and to be honest, also the most frustration, is working together. We've both been really incredibly lucky to have met each other so early in our lives and to be able to work together and see each other every day. I won't say that working with your spouse is the easiest thing in the world. Yeah. It definitely helps you work on communication and getting to know the other person in a different dimension. And it's really worth it. We have what I think is a unique lifestyle and relationship that is both very rewarding and very loving.
Yeah. And I was kind of imagining when you're talking about traveling to that many shows every week, all year long in the early days, I was imagining like when you're both at a booth, do you get a moment to kind of release each other to go and check out the rest of the show or how does it work when you're stuck in a booth all day, every day for days?
Yeah, we definitely take breaks. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
that's good. Good. Okay. So right now we are going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk all about the business space, how you bring this to the world and what every quilter wants to know, scissor care and what's coming soon with the business. We'll be right back. If you've ever had your scissors chew your fabric instead of cut it, this is for you. You know that frustrating moment when your tools just aren't working with you? That's exactly why so many quilters are switching to LDH Scissors. They're a family-run company designing high-quality scissors that actually glide through fabric. No fighting, no fraying, just clean, beautiful cuts. I love that they're made for real makers, whether you're cutting fabric for your first quilt or your 50th. Oh, and did I mention the lifetime warranty and free sharpening service that comes with all of their products? If your tools are slowing you down, it might be time for an upgrade at ldhscissors.com. Just give me 30 seconds of your time. Two things I want to say. The first thing is a huge thank you for listening and tuning into the show week after week. It means the world to me and my team, which consists of James, my podcast producer, DG, my virtual assistant, and Luna, my chocolate lab. This podcast really is a dream that started with the notion of surrounding myself with people who lift me up, but it has turned into so much more than that. We absolutely couldn't have imagined becoming an award-winning podcast, but secondly, we feel like we're only just getting started. And if you enjoy what we do here, please go to your favorite social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or even YouTube, and follow Quilter on Fire. It's one small thing you can do for free to support this show. And here's a promise I'm going to make to you. I'll do everything in my power to make this the best show I can, just for you. Thank you for listening. And we are back with Ursula. Can you tell us about your business space? Do you have a bricks and mortar? Is this working out of your garage? Do you have a big warehouse? How do you do it?
So we do have a warehouse space in Toronto for packing and shipping. But for our day-to-day, Roy and I mostly work out of our home. So we keep it cozy. We have our son with us. It's nice.
Yeah, that sounds really good. And so you have a warehouse, and then of course you have the family ties to China where the product is made in the beginning, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so what is your favorite time of day?
Ooh, okay. So I have two favorite times of day.
Okay.
So the first is right after breakfast because I am not a breakfast person. I always have trouble figuring out, well, what are we eating? I don't know. What do you want? What do I want? And then my second favorite time of the day is evening because that's when I can take a breath. Everything has gone well. And now it's time for that slowness to just creep in and wash over me. And it's just relaxing.
Yeah, I could especially see that with a little one in your care, right? Okay, so what's the best thing you do for your own self-care?
My own self-care, well, now that I have a toddler and he's a little bit older than a baby, I've been able to get back into working out. So that's been really, really important for my overall well-being. So I love lifting heavy objects. So I do a lot of weightlifting.
Yeah.
And mentally, what I like to do is I also spend a lot of time learning Mandarin because it's Roy's first language and it also lets me talk to his family. And so I get, I have the mental thing going, I get the physical thing going. I haven't yet been able to get back into crafting, but it's sort of that next step when I have just that little bit more time. And I'm so looking forward to it.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds like a really good self-care plan. So I want to move right from self-care into scissor care. So let's talk about scissors. I'm going to start with the age-old question every quilter wants to know. Paper versus fabric. Should you ever use your high-quality scissors on paper, or should you buy some old crummy scissors to use with paper?
I actually love this question because almost everyone has heard, well, don't use your scissors on paper, right?
Yeah.
So it really comes down to this, and this is where it gets kind of interesting. So what is it about paper? So paper is not just cellulose, which is made from wood pulp. There are other additives. So things like minerals, could be chalk, there could be clay in there as well. These things are abrasive and can also leave behind a residue that, if not cleaned, will continue to dull your blade with each cut. I mean, you can imagine if you had a piece of cowling clay, if you're going at it with your scissors, you'd think, well, this isn't a great idea. This is definitely going to affect my scissors. If I'm being completely honest, it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. So is it going to dull your fabric shears? Yes. But it's because of these extra little things. It's because it's abrasive.
Yeah.
There are actually similar effects to when you're cutting synthetic fibers. So think about polyester, for example. You wouldn't think to use your fabric shears to cut open a plastic blister packaging, but polyester is also made of plastic and can have similar effects. So that's why you actually need a really good pair of fabric shears. And that's why they're so great, is because they can be sharpened and they can be sharpened well. So what I would recommend is if you are in a pinch and you have just one pair of shears and you have to cut out a paper pattern, for example, just wipe them down after, because that is going to remove any film or residue that's left behind by the paper. That's the best thing that I can recommend outside of getting a secondary pair that maybe you don't mind just putting to the corner for those are just for paper.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like I have absolutely completely separated my paper and fabric scissors for 35 years. And I never imagined a response where it's okay to have both worlds. Just take care of them properly, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into which scissors are for which purpose. So I have 3 pairs of scissors that you guys have sent me. So let's talk about those 3 in particular. What would be the uses for these scissors? So let's start off with the Midnight Edition ergonomic fabric shears. What are the best uses for those scissors?
These are, I would say, our most heavy duty scissors that we've ever made, actually. So these are made of a high carbon stainless steel. And what that means is it takes the best properties of a high carbon steel and a stainless steel, which means more durability from the stainless steel and more sharpness from the high carbon steel. So these scissors can actually cut 64 layers of cotton. I don't know if anyone is actually doing that, but you could. So I would say these are truly a do-it-all. If you are working with leather, if you are working with rope, if you are working with fabric, these are fantastic. They're for basically everything under the sun.
Yeah, so they're a really good all-purpose scissor for sewing, quilting, crafting, everything. So let's talk about the lightweight scalloped pinking shears. What are some good uses for those?
Okay, these have to be the most adorable pinking shears that we have. So if you don't know, the difference between a regular pinking shear and a scalloped pinking shear is that a regular pinking shear have triangle teeth, and then a scalloped pinking shear have a nice round edge.
Yeah.
They create this really beautiful rounded edge design on fabric that can be used with garment sewing. It can be used with applique, it can be used with quilting. I would recommend that they are used on light to medium weight fabric rather than using them on something like leather.
Yeah. Well, I love them. I mean, I've already just been fooling around with them. And I'm actually thinking for Canada Day this year, I might make some flags with some very light batting inside and then stitch around the edges and then scallop the edge outside the stitch. I think those will be beautiful. So I've already imagined a whole bunch of projects that I have in mind. Okay, and the 3rd pair that you sent me are these tiny little cute LDH scissors. Can you tell me what these are and what's a great use for them?
Those are our 3.5-inch imperial scissors. So those have an ambidextrous handle. They can be used in left and right-handed, though they are not true left-handed scissors, just to put that out there. So these are a really great alternative if someone does not like the traditional snip action where you have to press them open and closed. So if someone has arthritis or carpal tunnel, I would actually recommend these ones over any other type of thread snip. Because they have the very short blade, they're excellent for like tight, precise trimming. So applique, if you are doing notches, anything like that in garment sewing, in quilting, any other fabric crafts, these are really, really great to have. And they can just sit beside your machine. And if you have a little hook on your machine, they can just you can put them right there and they're perfect for cutting thread too.
Yeah. And, I've bought so many scissors over the years from all different kinds of companies. But one thing I didn't really look into that clearly, and this could be a message for everyone, I think, is I'm buying scissors for the beauty and cuteness of them all. And really, I've figured out over the years, these ones are great for applique and these ones are great for this or that. So it's a good idea to just do a little research and figure out what are these scissors actually for before you buy them. Okay, so what makes a good scissor product compared to others? I just want to tell you a little story about how I've let go of a whole bunch of crummy scissors in my life. Over the past few years, just clearing clutter in my studio, it came to the point where I had dozens of pairs of scissors that were crafty or not, or dollar store or not. And eventually I did this purge where I got rid of all the junk and I just kept the ones that served me best. And now I even have more. Now that I have your scissors, I'm excited to use them even more. But I did this purge, and I think it's important to just, know the difference between what's a good scissor and what's not. Sometimes you'll cut something, it'll slice beautifully, like with the LDH scissors. Other times it's struggling through the fabric and you're thinking, this scissor might not be for this use.
So when you're talking about a handcrafted scissor like ours versus like a machine-made scissor, those 2 categories that I brought up earlier, there are some huge differences, and they're generally 5 things that you want to look for in a good pair of scissors that show that the manufacturer is paying attention. To preface this, I always recommend, if possible, to try the scissors before buying them, because there are a couple of things here that you're going to find are very deeply personal to you. All of your tools should feel good to you. Otherwise, what is the point in using them, right? So the first thing to look for is you need to look at the tip of the blade. Does it cut all the way to the tip? Because a lot of the time, that very couple last centimeters or so, they're just not cutting. That's really telling you the manufacturer is not paying attention to anything else that's going on. So that's the number one. So number 2 is to look at the blades. Good fabric shears will have concave blades. Mm-hmm. And what this does is it reduces friction and allows for more effortless cutting. The third is to look at what we call the button or the pivot, which is the bolt that's holding the 2 blades together. Is it heavy duty? Has it been placed well? You can open and close the scissors a couple times. How does that feel? Does it feel like they have been tensioned together correctly? The fourth is to look at the handle, and more specifically to actually get your hand in the handle. So every manufacturer is going to design their handle a little bit differently. You need one that feels good in your hand. So has it been molded to the hand? How does it fit in the hand? Is it a painted handle? Is it one that's rubber coated? That's going to feel really different too. And these are not things that are going to be considered when you're looking at a mass-produced machine-made scissor. Mm-hmm. The fifth thing to look for, and again, this is more of a feeling, is what is the balance like? How does it feel in your hand? The handle and the blade size have to be well balanced, or else you're going to have a scissor that might not have very good leverage. It might not cut very well. It might not feel very nice in your hand. So for our ergonomic scissors, actually, there is a weight at the back because we have a lightweight handle. We have put a counterweight in to help with the balance. And what you're going to find with our Midnight Edition fabric shears, for example, is we have 5 sizes, 8 inches through 12 inches. As the scissors go up in size and the blade becomes longer, the handle also becomes bigger because that balance has to be correct, or else it's just not going to feel good. So these are all the things that a handcrafted scissor manufacturer is going to be thinking about, whereas a dollar store scissor is just going to have 2 straight blades, going to have the most generic handle you've ever seen in your life. And it's going to feel completely different, which is why, again, I recommend everyone, if you can, try them before you buy. Any brand, not just our brand, but any brand. If you're looking for our tools to try in person, we do have our list of stockists on our website, and you can find that under the Learn tab.
Yeah, I just love that. And the first thing that hit me when I opened up this Midnight Edition scissor was the handle. And I didn't know that this was a weight on here, but I was so fascinated by the handle because I've been using the same old gigantic, no name, there is no brand on them scissors for decades. And they look like the handle of them, the old ones I have, is literally dipped in rubber or something. And it's just an old pair. And just holding these, it's like, wow, it's such a huge difference. So I'm really excited to just, I don't know. It's such an exciting thing to have new scissors and scissors that work well, of course. Okay. So let's get on to the next question. I love how you're clarifying why some scissors cut like butter and why others just shred the fabric to pieces. And they're, like that the curve of the scissors. That's fascinating because I would imagine what you're saying by that curve is that it's cuttable from where the curve starts to right to where it ends past the tip, right? Like that really helps with the cut. Okay. I love that part of it. So let's get into another question that quilters, well, I've actually never even wondered this. I oil my machine, but I've never oiled my scissors. So is that a factory thing or should we be oiling our scissors?
This is also something I love to talk about. Okay. So I'm a huge advocate for oiling all of your tools. So, okay. Oiling your scissors is so simple. Everyone should be doing it. And this applies to your snips, your pinking shears, your fabric shears, and your sewing machines, of course. So oiling helps because when you are cutting fabric, leather, whatever you're cutting, there are going to be little fibrous bits left behind. And of course, that can really build up over time. And just due to the motion of cutting, a lot of those fibers can find their way down to the button or the pivot, and it can start to feel like your scissor is a little bit clogged, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
In some cases, it can also feel like, oh, well, why aren't these aren't cutting the way they used to? Are they dull? What's going on? So what oiling does is it really thoroughly removes all of those fibers. And it also, if you're focusing on the button, which you should be, we have some videos you can watch. It helps lubricate and keeps everything nice and smooth. Mm-hmm. So we do oil and coat all of our scissors in oil when we ship them. And this is also a protective measure. If you know that you are going to be putting your scissors down, you're not going to be crafting or using them for a long time, we do actually recommend applying a very thin layer onto your scissors, because that's just going to help prevent any rust or any moisture from getting onto your scissors as well. Mm-hmm. That's typically not something you have to worry about with our scissors, because even though high carbon steel is more susceptible to rust, we put a coating on the blades to help reduce that. And of course, stainless steel is naturally rust resistant, but it's just good practice. And to make sure the next time you pick up your tools, they feel great and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say is make sure you are really getting that oil off before you use them next time, or else you might find yourself with some oil stained fabric. And you can do that with another piece of scrap fabric. You can do that with paper towel if that's all that you have. Just, really, really get in there, and they'll just feel great. I promise they'll feel great.
Okay, there's two more topics I want to cover before we leave the general care of scissors. So the next one is sharpening. Now, I heard you say earlier that you have a sharpening service. So tell us why sharpening is important, how to do it if we're nowhere near you guys, and how to do it if we want to send them to you.
So yes, we have a free sharpening service for all of our scissors. You just have to send them back to us, either here in Canada, if you're in Canada, or to our warehouse in the United States. So we do only do our own brand, and we have a reason for that. So every manufacturer sharpens their scissors at a very specific angle. And a lot of the time we get questions, I have these vintage pair from my grandmother. I'm wondering if you can do it. And if we mess up our own scissors, we can just send you a new pair. Yeah. We can't send you a new pair of your glorious grandmother's shears. I'm sorry. Yeah. So what I can recommend is there are a lot of excellent sharpeners, and you just have to Google scissor sharpeners near you. And if you really can't find anyone, you can try anyone that does ice skates, because it's actually very similar, because it has to be sharpened on a very specific angle.
Right. Okay. So sharpening is really important. You can send them in. You just have to pay the postage then, right?
That's right.
Okay, that sounds really good. And how often do you think you should sharpen them? Like what's the signs? Like if it's just not cutting as well, or how do you know?
Yeah. So of course, if it's not cutting well, that's probably a very good indication. You can always send us a video in an email to say, do you think these are dull? What's the next step? That's the main one, though. Sometimes if unfortunately your scissors have fallen off a table, that might require a little bit more care. You can also send that to us and we'll take a look, though we can't guarantee once they've fallen off that there's anything that we can do about it. If you found that unfortunately you have cut a pin, there might be a solution actually. Take them to a sharpener local to you first and ask them to try and get the nick out, because more often than not, that can be sharpened.
Okay, that's a great idea. Okay, so one more thing I want to talk about, because you know that I throw my scissors in a metal bucket, and that's not appropriate. So how should we care for our scissors when it comes to storage? Should I keep them in this original packaging forever, or should I hang them on the wall? What should I do?
So we design all of our packaging with reusability in mind. So yes, you can keep them in the boxes that they come in. And if they don't come in a box, they will usually come in some other felt sleeve or case. So we absolutely recommend keeping them in the packaging that they're sent in. Now, if you don't have the packaging anymore, that's okay. If you feel confident in a pegboard, you're free to hang them up. If you're not feeling confident, you can always wrap them in maybe some fabric and put them in a drawer. And that way, if you are opening and closing that drawer, it's not getting rattled around. Because sometimes if there's too much force against the scissors, it can cause some misalignment issues.
Yeah, and I'm just like cringing in my mind right now because I have a beautiful piece of felt in the bottom of my steel or metal bucket that I put all my scissors in. But when I do sort of toss my scissors and tools in that bucket, they clang all together. It's just probably not the wisest thing. So, and I've even told people, look, I keep all my scissors in one spot. It's so great. But now I'm learning some lessons here, and I'm definitely going to change the way I store my scissors. So I loved all those tips and tricks for general care, sharpening, storage, so many good tidbits there. So let's just dive in a little bit more. Can you give us another sneak peek about some of the new products coming on the horizon?
Yes. So we have a bunch of new colors coming for our lightweight series of scissors. So these are the scissors that whether you're a beginner, whether you're more advanced, these are really great to have in your sewing kit, or if you want to take something with you just on the road. Not a plane. I'm not going to say a plane because they will definitely get taken. But if you have a little sewing bag, you're going on a trip, you're going to the park, these are going to be extremely lightweight scissors in new, beautiful colors. We're really excited. And in the second half of the year, we're going to be introducing in the same colors, much smaller scissors, and actually one that is going to be plane friendly. So very springy, think flowers, things like that. We're really happy. We're really happy with them.
Really good. You know, I think that's a good idea because quilters love their beauty. They love looking at the things that they love. And I don't think quilters are beyond collecting a few different pairs of scissors if they're all in gorgeous little colors. So that's a great idea. I'm looking forward to seeing those maybe at H&H or some other shows coming up soon. Okay, great. So now it's time for the lightning round robin. It's a series of rapid fire questions and it's super fun. Are you ready?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so what is your favorite tool or notion?
Scallop pinking shears.
Okay, I was guessing it might be scissors of some kind. What triggers product inspiration for you guys?
Scrolling through Instagram because there's just an endless amount of creative people out there.
Oh, yeah, I bet. Okay, how many UFOs do you have going on at once in your studio as a crafter or maker?
Minimum like 7 from like years, just years.
Okay, do you have any kind of personal reward system for getting things done?
I love a cold, sparkling water.
Okay. Yeah. What motivates you to get out of bed in the morning?
That would be my son waking up at the crack of dawn.
That's a good way to wake up. Okay, what is a skill you'd love to learn?
So I've mentioned I learned knitting and I've been doing that for a long time. I have actually never done any color work knitting ever, if you can believe that. So that's high on the list, as well as my first quilt.
Okay, sounds good. Color change in knitting. Okay, do you have any favorite collections of any kind in your home?
Yeah, I like to collect interesting rocks from places that I've visited. So I have one from the top of a mountain from Jasper in Alberta. And then the most recent one was from Loch Ness in Scotland.
Wow. Yeah. That's kind of cool. What is your proudest accomplishment?
Being my son's mom.
Oh, yeah, that is definitely a milestone, having your first little one. Okay. Do you have any furry friends in your studio? You mentioned 2, right?
Yeah, my 2 little fur babies. It's Roger and Willow. They are turning 5 this year.
Okay. Yeah. That's so sweet. And what are their names? Roger
and Willow.
Oh, they're so cute. So cute.
Little cats. Oh. Yeah.
Okay, now I've thrown in a bonus question that you don't know about here. I'm adding it in. It's very important. It's a surprise question here at the end because quilters want to know. So how many pairs of scissors is too many?
No, the limit does not exist.
There is no limit. It's limitless.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I thought that might be just funny to throw in at the end. So thank you so much for braving the lightning round, Robin. That was really fun. So I've mentioned your website at ldhscissors.com where we can find all the things we've talked about today. But let's remind everyone, where's the best place for us to connect with you on social media?
So you can find us on Instagram at LDH_scissors, as well as on YouTube, which is LDH Scissors, Facebook at LDH Scissors, that has no underscore. Or you can also contact us on our website at info@ldhscissors.com.
Okay, great. So easy to get a hold of, easy to remember as well. Now, as we wrap up, Ursula, what do you want people to take away most from our conversation today?
What I want people to take away most is that craft is important. And I think it's a core part of who we are as people. And I think having good tools honestly makes the process more enjoyable. As artists and as makers, we put a lot of ourselves into what we create. So for us, it's always been really special to know that we can be a very small part of someone's crafting journey. And so just thank you for anyone out there that's ever supported us. Thank you.
Oh, that's such a good message to end with. And it kind of reminds me of something that I hear often. I can't afford to buy things that are not good quality, right?
Yeah.
So it's really nice well, when I pulled these out of the package, honestly, I was excited to play with them. When I was cutting with them, I was excited to make some new videos coming up. So yeah, treat yourself well and have some good tools. That's a great message. Okay, so Ursula, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you, Brandy. I really appreciate it. I had such a good time.
So that was my show with Ursula McClintock, and a little shout out to Roy Zhao because we see him at all the shows and you both treat your customers so well. What I love about this conversation is how much it reminds us that quilting isn't just about fabric and thread and color and design. It's also about the tools that help us bring our ideas to life. The team at LDH Scissors really understands that. Their tips on handling and caring for your scissors are golden. Their whole philosophy, love, dedication, and happiness, shows up in the way they approach making tools for makers. And I love that they're family-owned, a company supporting the creative community while designing tools right here in Canada. You can find them at ldhscissors.com. And today, I loved sharing the story of Ursula and Roy and LDH Scissors with you. Quilter on Fire is now on YouTube, and it's packed with brand new weekly content. What's waiting for you? Fun and easy tutorials to follow, exciting unboxings, exclusive interviews with top quilters and artists at the biggest quilt shows like Houston and QuiltCon. If you love Quilter on Fire on the podcast, you're going to be blown away by our YouTube channel. Don't miss out. Subscribe to Quilter on Fire on YouTube today. Let's ignite your passion for quilting. Thank you for listening to the Quilter on Fire podcast. Remember to rate, review, and follow us on Apple Podcasts. Your support helps me reach more quilters just like you, striving for that perfect quilty lifestyle. Click on those 5 stars and share what you loved most about today's episode. Don't forget to hit the follow button if you haven't already. With new episodes dropping weekly, you won't want to miss out on the inspiring stories and tips we have in store. Until next time, dream big and have fun in the studio with the Quilter on Fire.